have invested years of your life exploring the criminal mind, as well as, entertainment and horror. And I took it a little step further.
Oh, yes. Remember, these things transformed the brain. It literally started to rewire and confuse reality. So, yeah, my experience was so different from my friends because I remember showing them the movie and they were either disgusted by it, they were scared, or they didn't want to because it was like, we're not old enough. It was like, what? And at that point, I couldn't comprehend because my mother said it was okay. My mother needed it if it was, movie night or something. Like, she would work at a video store and copy from VCR to VCR all of the horror movies onto blank tapes, because at that point, you could do E.T. or something and stretch it out where you could fit 6 hours onto one cassette. And so she would get like maybe 4 movies or 3 movies onto one cassette, and she would have all the Halloweens and all the whatever was out at the time. Even the other ones like Night of the Demons and, whatever the other movies were, Chainsaw. And they were just there to babysit us when she was at her other job. And so it was like normal. We had more horror than we did in like Disney shit.
Yeah, that's basically like I had Disney stuff. I had Disney stuff, but I had horror movies. So
I've never seen Pinocchio. I've never seen Dumbo. I never saw Snow White. I know the story. I know the story from being old enough and aware of my surroundings. But until the 90s, I didn't start watching any movies. It was like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. Those were my first Disney movies, not the 50,000 that existed before.
Mm-hmm.
And I never loved them enough to like follow up on what I missed. And then by the time I hit like 17, it was like I didn't really care about Disney movies anymore. So they kept coming out, and then Dreamscape or whatever it's called started making like Shrek movies and shit. And, Despicable Me, and it was like, all right, now I'm back into cars.
You have 1 minute left.
Yeah, I'm big into Toy Story, so that was I was 6 when the first one came out. So, but yeah, like I
2 of those.
Like,
2 of those.
Yeah, I went back because I was big, I was big into horror movies, but I was also Ninja Turtles, because Ninja Turtles was big when I was little. Yeah. So Ninja Turtle movies.
Well, I was into the show, Ninja Turtles, the show every afternoon or whenever it was on.
Yeah. And there was a shark thing, too, that was kind of like Ninja Turtles I remember watching. Where they, fought crime. But...
Yes, the original Transformers.
I connect the shark cartoon to a horror movie, because my mom rented the horror movie with the shark cartoon. The Brain Dead, or whatever. So I remembered that.
Oh, I remember Brain Dead.
With the push mower.
Yeah.
Yes, that's still supposed to be one of the goriest movies.
It's a difference. Even when I was thinking about the 5, 10 horror flicks, it was like, geez, to try to rate them, it's like, what if there's an episode about horror flicks? Like, horror flicks that influence the childhood, or horror flicks that set each of us off on a path. What were they? So rather than saying this is number 1, or you don't just want to keep saying, Freddy, Jason, Pinhead, Leatherface, but those are the biggies from the 80s. It's also what affected you too,
Oh yeah. Like I've kind of thought like a couple of mine, and I think I kind of went with the route of like, yeah, I wasn't born when they were made, but I see them at a young age, and it kind of left a, you know, a certain impact on my life, and kind of got it to where I'm at today.
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me, I know we'll talk about it, but with Chainsaw Massacre, that came out like 73. I wasn't even born until 78. And then I wouldn't have actually watched it until I was probably 8 or 9, which would have been, you know, somewhere in the mid-80s, somewhere around 1987 or something like that. 1988, I would have probably watched it when I was about 9 or 10, maybe somewhere around there. And at that point, the movie's already like 15 years old. You know?
Yeah, that's actually probably, I would say probably top 3 for me. And I didn't watch it until, you know, probably mid-90s, and I was a small child, so, you know, you're looking at 20 years that it was out, a little bit longer when I watched it, and it was just, I don't know, I think that was a movie that kind of, like, even though it's set so far back, it still is that good today. And
what's that?
Just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, because, you know, you got all the sequels off of it. So it's just one of those things. It's like, it's a movie that came out, and I'm sure, you know, when it did come out, like how much it actually changed, you know, how movies were made, and kind of where, you know, we know it was based off Ed Gein and everything. Well, loosely. It was mostly the house and just Leatherface, but the whole family was all entertaining. And then you got, you know, all the sequels, and they're still making movies today, and they're talking about doing another one.
Yep. Kind of the cool part that I saw was that nobody was off limits. Not only were they killing kids, these are teenagers on a road trip. You know, they're just getting high and, you know, pick up hitchhikers and shit. But one of the kids is handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the kids is in a wheelchair. And that means nothing to these killers. There's no, like, pity. There's no reluctance to drive a chainsaw right into the stomach of a kid sitting in a wheelchair. You know, we've always said, like, oh, you wouldn't hit a kid with glasses. And it's you're not, back in those days, maybe you're not supposed to make someone feel less capable because of a so-called handicap or disability or something, you know?
Yeah.
But, come on. Guy was in a wheelchair. He couldn't even run away. And they stuck a chainsaw in his stomach. I think the best part about part 2 was their uncle was trying to find revenge, was trying to you know, find out what happened to his nephew. Because his niece lived, you know that.
Yeah, that is true. Wasn't there, speaking of, I know there's been other movies, but I know, like, which Friday the 13th had that? Was it Friday the 13th? Which one?
Had what?
Had a guy in a wheelchair. I remember he, like, goes down steps backwards.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, because there were stairs down to the water or something.
Yeah, and he, like, don't he get, like, stabbed or something, or his head, like, his neck cut and then pushed down? It's been so long since I've watched it. So long.
I remember, I don't think it was Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon was the one in bed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he was in bed.
The guy that was doing walking on his hands to impress his girl. He left the room, they had sex, and I think he was like in boxers or something. And he was walking on his hands, handstands.
Mm-hmm.
But he encountered Jason, and he had his machete. When you think of Jason, that is his sort of go-to. And he brought the machete down. Brought the machete down between his legs and just sliced him in half.
Yeah.
It's got to be really strong. Come on. But yeah, I think like almost like it was okay to say retard, and it was okay in a weird way to do that to handicapped people or something. Like, remember there was a whole what was it? Freddy Krueger 3, the one with the kids dreaming, the kids in some kind of hospital or something, and one of the kids had hearing aids.
That's the third one. That's the third one. That's the Dream Childs or whatever.
No, it was like Dream Warrior.
Oh, Dream Warriors, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I just remember him, exploding this deaf kid's hearing aid. So it's that kind of thing where somehow it was fucking, I don't know, somehow it was alright back then not to be PC.
Yeah, it's weird too how some movies have got to, like, what would be R-rated back then too is now like PG-13, which is kind of odd.
Yeah.
And with some of the movies.
Yeah, like Lost Boys is rated R, but I'm thinking back on it and saying like, well, are you telling me like Insidious is PG-13, but Lost Boys was rated R? They didn't really do anything. I mean, try to remember something from Lost Boys that would have been, considered R rating. What was it? A lot of it was maybe swears.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm trying to think of. God, it's been forever since I watched it. Yeah, I don't.
There was no nudity. I'm sure there was no nudity.
Like, if there was any sexual type stuff, it would just been like little stuff from what I remember. But yeah, nothing like vulgar, like out of the way or nothing.
Yeah, there was one kid that was in the bathtub because I remember, like, I think his brother was coming up to like kill him, and the dog came in, where he was underneath the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the Frog brothers, and he popped up, and his brother was gone. The dog chased the vampire out, but I mean, there really was no nudity in that thing as far as I remember. And you're right about the sexual. I don't think so either. I could see why, like, Clive Barker, you'll never find a PG-13 Clive Barker movie. His were always macabre and gruesome, and he pushed the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to Jason, it was obvious that they were going for the gore factor. It was buckets of blood, and I think even Freddy Krueger with the you've got the body, I've got the brain, and he just sort of shears all the skin off his scalp and it's spitting blood, and for some odd reason you could see his brain even though he just scraped the skin off his scalp, and somehow there's not a skull there and you can see his brain beating, even though I'm pretty sure brains don't beat like that. Throb.
Yeah, going back to like Jason, man, like, I know most of the movies are, Friday the 13th. They're terrible in their own sense, but that was kind of movies that left an impact on me, and that's like, so that between the three, Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers and all that, like, Jason was always like my favorite out of all of them. But like, going movie wise, I think Halloween is probably up there, the original one. Like, it's considered one of the better horror movies. And then the first Nightmare on Elm Street was amazing. But another series that stuck with me as a child that I watched when I was very young would be, Evil Dead, especially, the original one. I know the second one and the Army of Darkness, technically the third one, all kind of took more of a comedy route, but the first one still holds up a lot.
Well, yeah, remember how the second one could almost be considered like a parody.
Of the first one.
The way that they mocked the first one in a way by going. I think they went back to the cabin, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was like the same girl. Well, his same girlfriend, but technically the different actor playing it. And it was like talking about where like he killed her and all that. Yeah, it was. And they changed a little bit with like that one group coming in and all that. It was almost like, cause it was like he'd never been there before, and you'd think he was there the first one.
It was like we were supposed to forget what we saw the first time around, and then of course the hand, and we see that later in the kid from. He was in Casper, he was in Final Destination, and then they used him in Idle Hands, where he chopped off his hand because his hand was evil. And that was definitely playing homage to the Evil Dead. Maybe the Addams Family or whatever came up with it first, the hand running around thing. But it was Evil Dead that took it to the next level, and then Idle Hands, which had a lot of fun with it, even though there was, people walking around with head wounds and shit the whole movie. Was it a horror movie? Was it a comedy? I don't know.
It was kind of like to me, when I watched it, it came out in 98-ish. Because I watched it when that would put me 9, 10, 11 years old. And to me, it was a horror movie, but it also was a comedy, like it was a fun horror movie, in a sense. Not one, that you're supposed to be a jump scare to a degree, but more of a comedy style to it.
Yeah, it's like the perfect date movie for that reason, so that someone would cling on to you. But my problem is I was a little kid, and my brother's telling me, you've got to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like a family that kills together, and it's kind of funny. And I just sort of expected the funny to come at some point, but it was because of, remember the psycho brother or whatever the hell he was with the he had like a Polaroid camera, and he kept trying to take pictures in the van.
Yeah.
And then he like lit a fire in the back of the van, and they kicked him out.
Yeah, he got weirder as the ride went.
Yeah, he kept like laughing maniacally, and we see that he, if you watch part 2, even though he was hit by a Mack truck in the second one, or the end of the first one. Even though he got hit, we see in part 2 that they brought the same actor back, and you could see that they used him as his twin, and he actually dragged around, I think, his brother's body. Remember, he like swung his arm over his shoulder, and everywhere he went, he sort of made him talk, and he even, I think. Had like this little, for some reason, I guess he had a metal plate in his head, because at one point it got sheared open, and so he would light a hanger with his lighter.
Oh, that's
and scratch his head because it would itch.
What is his name?
And then he started doing it to like his brother too. So it was crazy.
I think it was Bill Moseley played as that character, because that's actually still, was it Chop Top or something?
Oh, I didn't even recognize.
Yeah, that's Bill Moseley. Like, he is still well known for that character. Cause I think he dressed up as him not too long ago. I remember seeing, because I follow him on Instagram, But trying to think of another movie that probably left an impact on me, and I would consider like one of my probably top 5 movies. I always rule Evil Dead as my number 1, but
Right.
if you can go to The Howling.
I used to hate The Howling. Maybe like the best part was what was she in some kind of like porno theater or something with some guy, or he was in like a booth or something.
Yeah, what was it? That was in the beginning. What was it that he had like a crush or something on her, but he ends up bringing her to it type thing, invited her to the booth, and then he like started changing in front of her, and then they shoot him, and then they think he's dead type thing, and then he ends up getting her later on in the movie.
Right. For me, like, The Howling went on. They made like 50 of them.
Yeah, they
felt like
terrible after that.
But there was a baby werewolf at one point. It just, I don't know. That was weird. Do you remember that?
That was that the third or fourth one? Like, she was like a werewolf, and the guy had impregnated her like a regular person, and then it was a werewolf. Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's the third or fourth one. I actually watched that not too long ago, and I was like, these are terrible. Because I know the second one was weird, but a lot of people did like it a little bit, and then it just seemed like it got worse after that.
Those were never my favorite. I never I love werewolf movies, and they did a real good job with the Teen Wolf. I don't know if you watched the series.
I've never watched the series.
I think it was like a DVD or something. Someone rebooted it as a serious show, and I don't know. He was nothing like Michael J. Michael J. Fox was like corny as hell. It was so corny as a werewolf movie, especially the weird shag. I don't understand that. It almost looked like he was Chewbacca. Didn't make any sense. Wolves don't even have fur like that, so I don't really understand it.
I think a lot of that, they said like the underlining for Teen Wolf was kind of like puberty type thing for back then, whether be true, but yeah, that's kind of my favorite style. Like there was everybody knows American Werewolf in London. That's considered probably the greatest werewolf movie ever made.
Certainly the transformation.
Yeah, since that was not all CGI back then, it was just them actually doing the whole outfit and makeup and all that as they went.
You have 1 minute left.
You really do you remember Rawhead Rex?
I want to say yes.
It's almost another one of those like English countryside beasts on the prowl, attacking drivers and people who farm. And this thing was like this again was makeup. This was costume, and it looked like a monster. Today, when we see it, it's someone designed it on a computer. They perfected it, and it looks cool and it looks real. But what was scarier was the mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still was more cool to see, even with like Harry and the Hendersons. Like that was a Bigfoot.